Hey, what's going on? Let me straighten out my hat. Do a quick little session on talking about training while injured. Even in this day and age, here we are, mid-September 2020, and pandemic, COVID-19, cancellations of everything is real. Even with that going on, without racing and necessarily training with a focused race in mind, still got plenty of athletes dealing with injuries. They pretty much pop up no matter if you got a race on the schedule or not. If your race gets deferred, your race gets canceled, injuries happen and they pop up. And you got to be creative to find ways around them, to make sure you don't injure yourself further, and maintain your fitness if that's your goal, or decide if you kind of need to maybe dial it down and power down and take some time off. So here's a few little quick tips that I've shared with my athletes over time, and hopefully you get some out of them too. We're going to go with focus on what you can do instead of what you can't do. So if you can't do running, can you do biking? Can you do swimming? What can you do? Don't focus on the can'ts, focus on the cans, and that will go a lot further to help you figure out what you can be doing during your training while you're injured. Alternate aerobic modes. So what I mean by that is, or anaerobic modes. Let me catch myself there, or even aerobic. So maybe if you've got a foot injury and running is your main mode of increasing your VO2 max, going out there in anaerobic intervals and all that kind of good stuff. And you're kind of lost in a way to keep that aerobic and anaerobic fitness up. You can go to the bike, back there. If you got a foot problem and you still can't do the bike, maybe the pool. I know pools are hard to come by at this point in time, but maybe you got a shoulder injury from the pool, and maybe doing a bike and kind of being stationary up top, you can't really do running necessarily. So if you're looking for fitness gains, especially in anaerobic end, you can still kind of get those, but you're going to have to be creative. Maybe if you got a lower body injury, maybe you can find a hand bike. Just go out there or find a rower where you don't have to use your lower body as much. You can still do plenty of stuff to put yourself in an anaerobic state that doesn't involve just running, or doesn't involve just cycling, doesn't involve just swimming. So be creative in how you go about doing. As long as your doctor is okay with it and you're all cleared by your physical therapy or whatever, go out there and find different modes to get that anaerobic fitness in. You're going to have to modify your routines. By this I mean your strength routine, your run, your bike, whatever. If all you can do is kind of aerobic base work on the bike because you can't really put that much pressure and intensity into it, for hip problems or whatever, back problems, then modify the routine. It's just 60 minutes of spinning in zone 2. Easy stuff. If it's strength routines, maybe you can do upper body stuff, just can't do lower body. Maybe you can do lower body stuff. Add a little bit of a shoulder problem for a little bit. Spent too much time toting around 5-gallon buckets of staining a fence. So my shoulder was a little bit sore for a few weeks there, and finally got over that. So I had to modify routines. I could still do core work, so a little lower body work, but kind of stayed away from the upper body work to let that heal over time. So just modify your routines. Just cut stuff out. If it hurts, don't do it. And run it by your doctor, your physical therapist, or whatever, and say, hey, this is kind of some workouts I'm going to do. They may say, hey, do it as you can tolerate. You're not really going to cause any problems. Or they may say, don't even think about doing that kind of stuff. That can cause all kinds of problems when you're trying to heal. So be prepared to modify your routines. Maximize your rest and recovery. Make sure you're getting plenty of sleep. Letting that body do its job to recover and repair itself. That's going to be key over time. Now's the time to check your nutrition. Are you giving your body enough calories? Are you giving enough building blocks to repair itself? Even if you're getting rest and recovery, you're doing the right things training-wise. If you're not giving yourself nutrition, if you're sneaking the donuts in for breakfast and you're always eating fast food on the go because you're running around all the time after work and dropping kids off everywhere and you just don't have time for a good meal, maybe it's time to kind of step back and say, hey, maybe I need to unfortunately eat more greens, eat more vegetables, and just kind of come up with a better nutrition system, because that does have an impact on how you feel, how you perform, and how you recover from injury. So step back and revisit nutrition there. The next tip I got here is compare time off now versus long drawn out recovery. So if you need to take 2 weeks off now instead of dragging it out for 2 months, then do it. Over 2 weeks, you're not going to lose that much fitness, and you can get back into it if you got a full recovery. So listen to your doctor. If they say, hey, you can take 2 weeks off now completely, or you can find ways to kind of get around it, and you're going to drag this out for 2 months, 3 months, or whatever, or longer. You just got to weigh the options. Is especially now when we got kind of a break, taking 2 weeks off isn't going to be the end of the world. So maybe just take a block of time off get fully recovered, and then go back at it. Otherwise, you could set yourself or keep doing a re-injury and not healing all the way. So be ready to just take a block of time off. I know us type A people don't like that. We don't like doing nothing necessarily. So just be prepared. Maybe taking that time off instead of kind of dragging it out is the best option. So again, I kind of mentioned at the beginning, it's a reality check. Do you need to just power down? You know, take time off if it's a severe enough injury, you know, kind of a long-term situation. Like I said, now's the time to do it, with most races still kind of in a canceled state right now. You know, I'm Tulsa 2021 is my next race in May of 2021. So if I had an injury, like if my shoulder wasn't getting better, now's the time to go to the doctor. Like I had a situation, I thought I had abdominal hernia. So if I need to get that fixed, that's kind of a long-term recovery situation. So I went to the doctor. I had it taken care of. Don't put it off. Don't kind of Mickey Mouse around with it. You know, go in there, check it out. And if you have to take a month, 2 months, 3 months, you know, now's the time to do it instead of later. Until, you know, when you get 3 months out from race day and you're like, well, you're going to have to take 2 months off to recover from this injury because you can't train through it. And if you try to do it, it's going to make it worse. So analyze the situation. Is it better just to take the time off now, get it done, power down, stop doing everything, and get recovered and then get back on it? The other option is, well, the other kind of tip that I want to point out is embrace that time off. You know, reconnect with the family, the kids, the friends, anything you're kind of, you know, missing out on, sleeping in. You know, use that extra time to maybe work on meal prep and that type of thing. Get, you know, the fence stained, the deck repaired. Anything you got to do, you know, embrace that time off. Find things to fill it. Don't just sit around and have a pity party. Embrace the time off. Use that to your advantage to get things done or to rest and recover. So don't fight it. A lot of people like to fight that time off and they just don't know what to do with themselves. Personally, I don't have that problem with 3 kids. You know, my wife works full time. I work full time at home. We're dealing with the pandemic and schools and all that kind of stuff. I got plenty of things to do. So if you need something to do, you let me know, and I'll give you something to do while you're recovering from any kind of injury. So another thing to look at is fixing your form and your dynamics, or your running dynamics, your swim dynamics, your biking. You know, if you got an injury and it's severe enough that you got to take some time off, maybe now's the time to kind of dial it back and say, hey, maybe get analysis done, and while I work in physical therapy, I'm addressing these core problems that kind of cause an injury. I've been to Fit Muscle Joint Clinic here in Kansas City. They're great. They'll do different assessments and kind of analyze where your strengths and weaknesses are, and get you ways to recover it. I've also done 68 Inside Sports, where they did a run analysis and they gave me all kinds of band works. It's not fun stuff. It's not the sexy, you know, going out and bench pressing and doing squats and all that kind of stuff. It's not a CrossFit workout, but it's pretty important to get those stabilizers fixed and work on them and make sure that you're doing things right. So check the form, go back, do assessments, do analysis. I do them for my athletes. Just make sure that you're building on the right fundamentals and the right foundation of doing your running and swimming and biking, especially for full Ironman races. So now's the time to really dig back into that and make sure that you're doing those right. And I'm going to leave you with last, kind of embracing that recovery time is embracing the fact that strength, flexibility, and mobility and recovery are just as important as swim, bike, and run. So if you don't do that, you're not going to last very long. You're going to get injured, and it's just going to be a repeating cycle. So most of my successful athletes are doing this year after year, and myself, I put myself in that boat, is making sure you're getting your rest, getting your sleep, getting your recovery, doing your nutrition, doing your stretching, your flexibility, your strength routines. That's stuff that nobody likes to do. I know we all just want to swim, bike, and run. I know we're all time crunched, but you know, if you can find 10 minutes to use the foam roller to stretch out your back, to make sure you keep that mobility, especially being in the bike position for so long, extended periods of time, it helps out with injuries. So there's a ton of things you could be doing, and people, that's kind of the last thing that people think about. They do start thinking about when they get older and they start getting more injured, because you're not as young and youthful and resilient as you used to be. But focus on the recovery aspects now if you want to be doing this long term. So recovery, strength and stretching, and that type of situation, and rest, recovery, nutrition, all that kind of fun stuff. It's the core building blocks of if you want to keep doing this long term. So that's my quick tips. Hopefully you caught all of them. If not, just watch back the replay. If you got any questions or anything, put them in the comments. Happy training out there, and we'll see you guys out running on the road later.